Once upon a time, there was a young man named Xiao Yao, a guy with no aspirations in life other than to find the celestial herb. His master has given him the task of getting it, as his first grandfather is ill and the celestial herb is the only one that can save him. His master is unable to do so because he must take care of him, and his second grandfather has not returned from South Africa. This pushes Xiao to search for an herb that he has no idea what it looks like or where to find it. In frustration, he kicks a rock that goes straight down the road until it hits an oncoming vehicle. The blow deforms the front and a very angry man gets out of the car. And so this story begins. Xiao is left cold at the sight of what he has just caused. The man runs from his car shouting at him, asking if he knows the cost of his car. Xiao nervously replies that he doesn't know, and the man gets angry at his joking attitude. He sends him to hell and throws a punch. The young man, like a martial arts expert, dodges the blow and surprises the bald man. The bald man attacks him again, and finally, Xiao stops him. Far away from them, a female voice tells them to stop. They both turn and look at the long pink-haired passenger wearing a jacket and summer denim shorts. Oh, and high heels, because we all know they're the best thing for summer shorts. Bio obeys and throws one last threat to Xiao. They walk away and loudly comment that they must find Master Gao Feng because he also has a sick grandfather. Bio has faith that they will be lucky. Unexpectedly, Xiao tells them that they won't find him, and if they do, Master Gao Feng won't help them. That angers the driver, who reverts to his aggressive state, threatening to break his bones. He tells him how dare he tell them that they will fail, to which Xiao replies that he is only telling the truth. The lady asks him his name and then the reason why they won't find him, or failing that, why he won't help them. Xiao knows the answer but doesn't want to tell them. Then he remembers the huge dent he put in the car. He doesn't want to be beholden to others. He then deduces that they are looking for a doctor, and that he can serve them since he is one too. Bio does not immediately believe him, insults him and calls him an idiot. Xiao then replies that he could let him die, and if it were not for him, it would be soon. He then begins to describe all the symptoms he noticed and the ones he deduced. Very Dr. House style, he mentions that the crown of his head is getting darker, his pulse is weak, he feels lethargic, and his tongue is yellow. He has been unable to sleep and has other ailments. I rechecked Mr. Bio's drawings before this, and the author didn't bother to even put in any little details. Bio is surprised at how accurate he is, as is the woman who has not revealed her name. Since he was able to convince them that his illness is true, he prescribes something quick to save him. She doesn't specify what, but he must boil it with distilled water and drink a liter and reduce to a full month to be cured. Finally, the pink-haired woman introduces herself as Lai Xiao, just like the protagonist. Aren't there more names in China? And asks if she can come to his house to help his grandfather. Xiao agrees. After all, he owes him for the car dent he caused. That said, they return to Miss Lai's mansion. There they meet other relatives who anxiously hope that she has found the Master Dr. Gao. She tells them no, but she found someone along the way without a medical license who is better. She introduces Xiao Yao, and the group of relatives don't take it seriously from the first second. Her uncle is the first to question her decision to bring a stranger home to help Grandpa, who would be daddy to him, I think. She has a point. She can't find someone on the streets to act as a doctor, and Xiao picking his nose doesn't help him. Not content, he confesses that he only has some medical knowledge. Uncle confronts him by claiming that even veterinarians would know something about medicine, and Xiao retaliates by suggesting that Uncle is no better than a veterinarian for not even knowing something about medicine. This makes him angry, and Xiao explains that his third grandfather taught him and that this one is the best in medicine. He also mentions something about if someone hits him, he should respond with a kick in return, but no one is hitting him. I didn't understand that scene. Finally, the guy gets fed up with him and decides he's a scammer and won't be welcome there. Miss Lai comes to his defense, taking full responsibility for Xiao, guaranteeing that he can cure the grandfather. If he can't, he will lose his entire share of the family inheritance. He uses this to convince them. He also has a thought about no one there really being interested in Grandpa, only in the money he can leave behind. He agrees to give up everything as long as Grandpa is well, and with this he gets Xiao to be able to treat him. He asks her if she really trusts him, a person she met a few hours ago, who knows nothing and whose only medical reference is that he diagnosed her driver. And she says yes, he is her only hope. With that same faith, we go to the IMSS. This motivates Xiao, who obviously admires that she is a person who does not care about money or honor, but being loyal. Such a thing. Knowing that his family expects him to fail, he will not let them down. So he goes to see the patient. In the room, she immediately detects a very bad smell, something the rest don't seem to notice. She also notices that he lacks vital chi, but not in the common way. Unexpectedly, Old Lai writhes in pain, clenching his chest and letting out piercing howls. The granddaughter explains that this happens every day, dries his sweat with a cloth, and Zio asks to smell it. By doing so, she deduces what is happening. Zio proposes to give him a detox, to which he needs some medication. On his way out, he is intercepted by the woman in the red dress, the protagonist's cousin, questioning why he is there and not curing the old man. Upon learning that he can be cured, his expression changes. Miss Lai advises that she will go, but Zio tells her that the silver needles only he can distinguish the right ones. They both go to buy them. They visit a sort of clinic, temple that sells homeopathic medicine, the alternative kind they sell at 3 a.m. on broadcast television. Zio from the first moment does not look favorably on the corporate way in which this hospital is managed and the reluctant treatment of the doctors, selling medicine wholesale at obscenely expensive prices and not delivering what they promise. He has a memory of his grandfather who gave away medicine to those in need and would not accept any payment. Instead, at Jishi Hall they try to sell them silver needles without spiritual kai at an exorbitant price that makes Zio furious. The young doctor's plea makes the attendant angry. Even other patients discriminate against him for his audacity to deliberately attack the temple and its reputation. After an argument, Zio leaves. Before he can leave, a seriously ill man coughing up blood comes running in, skipping all the lines, saying that the prescription he was given has not helped him. The attendant rejects his claim that the prescription doesn't work, denies he made a mistake, returns you to the line ignoring you. Zio, who overheard and is very nosy, asks to see his prescription. Upon reading it, he runs and tears up the office sign. He shouts that they are a disgrace to serious homeopathy, and he laughs and angers both the doctors and the patients standing in line. Just as they were about to get into a fight, the immortal doctor, the master of all there, shows up. He stops the fight and finds out what is going on there. One of his disciples explains everything to him, and the master angrily claims to Zio the reason for doing this. Miss Lai shows up to defend him and assume the cost of the destroyed sign. But the immortal master does not accept. He wants to talk directly to the boy. Zio accuses him of being a charlatan, adding to the story told by his disciple that he discovered that the sick man did not suffer from insomnia alone, but from a strange disease called longmian, pale skin, bloodshot eyes and blue tongue, plus his kai is in chaos. For the record, now the author did draw all that. The medicine he was given not only doesn't help, it makes the situation worse. The disciple denies that this is true, but the immortal master does his own review and confirms that the unfortunate man has longmian disease, a disease he has only seen 3 times in his life. That's how scarce it is, and yet he accuses his disciple of being idiot. The teacher is surprised that the young man can recognize such a disease. Moreover, he scolds his disciple for paying more attention to the sign they broke and not to the facts. He throws a few words in the air about how they can't save everyone, but if they try hard, some of them can. Everyone applauds him and he does free publicity of the moment. Even Zio buys his speech. Once they become confident, the immortal master proposes a challenge. If he manages to tell him the correct treatment for the disease, he will give him one of his personal silver needles, none of those vulgar ones that he sells at obscene prices. As a token, he sends for the needles he promised from his personal arsenal. His disciple brings with him a box of millenary fragrant rosewood. In it there are needles. They explain that there are 2 types of silver needles that are difficult to obtain, those of ice and those of fire. The first is created with metals from extremely cold places, the second with igneous metal from volcanoes. More important are the divine needles, such as the Ai Zuan of the king of the Tang dynasty. Zio manages to recognize it by using his Kidu technique to activate it. The immortal master is surprised to see him do that, a technique he had not seen in 10 years. The immortal master tells him that he will give him that hard-to-get needle. His disciples beg him not to do so, that he'd better give it to one of them, but he doesn't listen. That said, he allows him to proceed with the treatment for the man who continues to bleed to death while they settle their affairs. Zio warms up the arm, and after that, he hits the dying patient's stomach. Everyone calls him crazy, but the immortal master asks them to be silent and watch. Zio stretches his arms, clasps his hands together, massages his shoulders, and finishes with a back slap that makes him throw up all the longmian disease. All the employees think he's gone crazy, even the rest of the patients. Finally, the immortal master checks the sick man's condition and finds that his kai is restored. Then he throws himself on his knees and begs to be accepted as a disciple. Zio tells him he won't. He has people to save and doesn't plan to have disciples. Miss Lai watches, and her hopes of saving her grandfather grow. In order to get the immortal master off her back, she tells him that she will accept him on the condition that he helps her find the heavenly grass. He accepts, even though he has no idea what the herb looks like. When the rest of the patients notice the scene, they all riot to get Xiao to give them a consultation. There are so many of them that they must escape. They make it out of the temple with the needles, but the rest of the medicine is still missing. When they are on the street, her companion asks her to let go of her hand. They no longer need to run. Xiao apologizes, and they continue searching for the medicines. Meanwhile, at the Lai mansion, the pink-haired girl's fiancé, Cheng Fei, arrives. This is a businessman who came back a year earlier because he has gotten richer faster than he thought. He is well received by the family, especially the uncle who compliments that he has made it before. They explain to him what is going on and that they all think he is a liar. They ask him to get rid of him. Xiao enters the mansion slamming the door. They have heard everything inside being said, and as expected, Cheng Fei confronts Xiao. He questions if he can cure Grandpa. Xiao replies that he is there to cure people, not answer questions. She orders him to remove himself. Cheng refuses to move and Xiao has to intervene, claiming that he has already proven his efficiency. The businessman notices that Xiao does not treat him the same, but returns to his posture. He is worried that he is cheating her. Genuine concern. If someone tells you they will cure you with needles pulled out of a volcano and ointments drawn from a smelly jar, thinking they are being conned is not the wrong response. Consult your doctor. Xiao ignores him, hurries Xiao to apply the medicine which he first has to boil. Xiao goes to the kitchen for the special jar to do this. Xiao tries to go to Grandpa, but Cheng Fei stops him. He threatens him by telling him that if he really cheated Xiao and she becomes sad for such a reason, he will pay dearly for it. The family does not know how to react. Even Xiao shows up to stop him, something that infuriates Cheng Fei more because he thinks she cares more about the young doctor than about him. Filled with anger, he attacks Xiao, but he obviously defends himself and attacks him back. Then he continues to the old man's room. The businessman's bodyguards try to stop him, but Cheng Fei stops them. He has realized that he is very strong. He lets him go, but still does not finish him off. The cousin in the red dress, who still won't say her name, doesn't miss an opportunity to approach the millionaire, who is still furious about what happened. She advises him to wait for the right moment to carry out his revenge. Already in the grandfather's room, Xiao prepares the silver needles with Kai charge. Since they are ready, he sticks them into the old man's chest and he rides. He comments that the poison is stronger than he thought. It protects his heart, but the medicine he brought is insufficient for treatment. They need the immortal master to sell them more. Knowing that he wants to be his disciple, he will surely bring them soon. They go downstairs to get Xiao's dad to give them the phone number. The family is surprised that he has already finished curing him, but upon learning that he has not, they verbally attack him again. They think calling the immortal master is because he alone cannot cure him. Xiao ignores them, focuses on getting Yao Ling's phone number. Dad at first refuses to think that someone as important as him would come, even more so to just deliver some medicine. The woman in the red dress brags about it, and the uncle intercedes to get the number with the plan to ridicule him further. He makes the call and gets the medicines. They go back to the old man's room, and that's it. The chapter is about that, nothing more. As expected, Master Yao Ling shows up with his modest bag of medicine. The girl in red is surprised to open the door for him. The old man immediately asks for his master, and the rest of the family can't believe it. Even the uncle slaps himself awake. Xiao comes downstairs and specifies that he won't be his master until he gets the heavenly herb, but for now he can help him cure Grandpa. Yao Ling goes upstairs with him and they get busy medicating him. Since he prepared the concoction, he notices that Xiao is using his Kai to transmit it to the old man. He doesn't know how to do it and is impressed to see it. All this to condition the old man's body and to be able to give him the concoction that needs to be boiling for its effects to be greater. The immortal master explains to himself that most Chinese recipes must be drunk boiling, but people can't do that because it would burn their mouth, throat, and organs. So they drink it lukewarm, losing some of its healing power. Xiao promises to teach him proper beekeeping and the use of Kai to prevent Mr. Lai's organs from burning when he drinks the concoction. Master Yao settles for that. When he finishes, he removes one of the many silver needles he has implanted in his chest. As he does so, an unpleasant odor emanates from his body that his new disciple recognizes. Once the treatment is over, Grandpa is finally cured. He is tired, but he will get better. Xiao tells Xiao that the disease is not a mystery. Someone has been poisoning him. This time he was there to detox him, but next time it won't be like that. They were just lucky to know each other because of the dent he put in his car. Yao Ling adds that that kind of poison could only be created by one person in this world, a certain king of Hell Yama, a Gu master, the most powerful in the whole Haitian city that no one has ever stopped. And those who dared disappeared. Immortal Master has tried to get rid of that scum, but he is old and weak, and he very strong and high class. Moreover, his identity is still very special. He describes that he is the head of the Jiang clan, to which Xiao manages to recognize him. His family has had run-ins with them over business matters, but he never thought they would dare to poison his grandfather. Speaking of him, he wakes up and looks at the group arguing. Xiao is the first to go to meet him. The old man thanks the immortal doctor for saving him, but he declines, accepting that it was not him, but the young Dr. Xiao. The grandfather focuses on him, but fades away before speaking. Xiao explains that he is still weak, they should let him rest. They decide to leave the room and find the rest of the family to tell him the good news. Everyone is surprised, but not everyone looks cheerful. The immortal doctor serves as a witness to this feat. The uncle and cousin in the red dress don't look too happy. Even she acts strange, and her cousin Xiao can tell. She then asks her dad to allow Xiao to stay in the house, which her fiancé doesn't like at all, but she shushes him, saying that it's her house and she doesn't need to ask his permission. The guy takes the opportunity to say goodbye before the situation becomes more awkward. The fiancé understands and decides to leave as well, with the clear intention of taking revenge later. At Lai Bing's house, they are cursing that Xiao cured the old man. Even the cousin agrees that they were very lucky in the end. He comments that his plan is ruined and he will no longer be able to celebrate the inheritance. The next day, Xiao is abruptly awakened by the old man watching him sleep. At first he does not recognize him, as he looks better and wears an elegant suit. The old man invites him to lunch and then talks about how to thank him. Xiao accepts, and when he arrives at the dining room, he finds 3 members of the family, who I assume are his sons. One of them shows a check for 50 million yuan, to which Xiao refuses, as he remembers his teacher's teachings and his duty is to help, not to get paid for doing so. He argues that he is not the type of person who wants to make a living doing that, curing elderly multimillionaires. His idea is to open a small clinic where he will give consultations with fees that will not be high. I think a 50 million yuan check will do that, but what do I know about finances? Grandpa enters the dining room and scolds Lai Kun for offering such a paltry check. When he learns that it is his service payments, he becomes even angrier. It seems little to him that they want to compensate him with only 50 million yuan, and he claims that he is aware of all the difficulties Xiao went through to serve him. He breaks the piece of tea he carries in his hands. Xiao reminds him that he cannot get so angry because he is still weak from the illness. He again thanks her for her services, mentioning that he is indebted to him and that whatever he needs, he can ask her for. Xiao replies that he should focus on leaving all his property to Xiao, which is beside the point, but he says it anyway. Grandpa reflects. Seeing death so close, he realized what kind of family he has and that only Xiao truly cared about him. So he plans to leave the business affairs to her, the granddaughter who did not fail him. Now in confidence, Xiao remembers that he does need a couple of favors. The first is to find the blissful celestial herb that no one knows about and no one can find. The old man swears on his children's lives that he will use all his influence to find the medicinal plant. The second favor is that he can get him a job, as well as a place to live temporarily. The old man thinks it's too little what he's asking for, given that his skills have saved his life, but that's how humble young Xiao is. Since his specialties are medicine and kicking anyone who gets in his way, the best job he can offer is to be the bodyguard of his favorite granddaughter, Xiao. This is because after he hands over the company to her, he will have many enemies and rivals. He needs protection and a family doctor. The girl enters the dining room claiming that he is being a bit stingy because of how talented Xiao is. Paying him only 100,000 yuan a month is insufficient. Xiao comments to himself that last time he only got 500 yuan from an SSS class mission. He can't imagine earning that much for just curing some diseases and protecting Xiao. Inadvertently, a person enters the dining hall despite being warned by the staff not to do so. This is a messenger who invites young Xiao to a meal. The host is Mo Changfei. Immediately Xiao comes to his rescue, making it clear that Xiao will in no way go with Cheng, as he knows what his intentions are and will not allow it. The messenger insists that they are up to no harm, and Xiao flatly refuses. Finally, Xiao decides to accept because sooner or later he will meet Cheng Fei. The messenger confirms the invitation, tells him the place and time. Then he withdraws, laughing evilly. The young granddaughter warns him that Cheng has no good intentions towards him. The doctor replies that it is no problem. He is not stronger than him and that he is not at risk. She also doesn't understand why, if she just met him, she is so concerned about his integrity and not her fiancé. Xiao watches him go upstairs to his room. Then Grandpa intercedes to tell her that he will largely go to Cheng Fei for her, since he will fight her fiancé because he is jealous. Such a thing, Zio blushes and still doesn't understand why. Zio is in her room planning how she will find the heavenly herb. Since her second grandfather is still sick, she can't stop looking for it. Plus, Haitian City is too big to know where to look for it. At that moment enters Zio, who has changed her clothes, telling him that he should do the same, since he hasn't done so since yesterday. The funny thing is that the author drew her with exactly the same outfit she wore in the first chapter in the previous scene when she entered the dining room, and so far he dressed her differently. What a slob. The protagonist has a flashback where his teacher gives him 200 yen for his expenses away from the mountain. With the valuable advice that money is important, don't waste it. He comments this to his hostess, and she replies to take it as part of his salary. He accepts and is dragged to the most luxurious stores in town, where the exorbitant prices disturb him. Zio doesn't find it expensive, rich people stuff, and adds that everything in the store is the same price. They both hear from a couple crossing the store, an insult to their poverty. The loud approaches to emphasize what he has said. He reproaches her that if she doesn't have money, she should go to a merchant to bargain for clothes. Surely there he can find something for a couple of yuan. Zio replies that he doesn't care where he buys his clothes, in what way it concerns him. This guy continues, he doesn't care where he does it. What interests him is the embarrassment he will put the beautiful lady accompanying him through. He wastes no time and makes a pass at Zio. He brags to her that he is the son of the owner of brilliant real estate, and invites her to go shopping with him. Zio quickly questions if he is not with his girlfriend, the blonde clinging to his arm. The latter replies that she is not, just an admirer of Liu Zikao. Again, he makes her the offer. He can even give her a car and whatever she likes, but tired of listening to him, he gives her 3 seconds to disappear. She also comments that brilliant real estate has no future in the city. Liu doesn't take kindly to hearing her say this and orders his bodyguards to kidnap her. He will teach her a lesson in her bed. They both hesitate for a moment. Tying her up and getting her out of there sounds excessive, but the guy insists he'll pay them well if they do it. Fittingly, Zio is there to save the day, plus he has a paycheck to get even. So he quickly confronts the 2 bodyguards. Liu warns him that he won't forgive him for intervening, orders his goons to hurt him badly and spits on the ground. Zio confronts the first one and fractures his arm. The second one he sends flying with a kick. Finally, he approaches Liu Zikao and tells him he is next. After getting rid of the thugs, he chases Liu, who is crawling on the ground. He asks Zio if he can pulverize him, and the latter replies that if he wishes to do so, he can satisfy himself. The latter warns him that his father is the owner of the largest real estate company in the city. She threatens not to let him leave Haitian alive. Noticing that this does not work, he offers the girl who accompanies him if she allows him to flee. She gets angry with him. The audience that already surrounds them recriminates his attitude of using a woman as a shield. Zio catches him by the shirt and shouts at him that he is a scum. Liu, feeling more vulnerable, begs her to let him go, even offering him money to do so. The young doctor asks the clerk if spitting is allowed inside the boutique, to which she replies no, remember that important fact, and that's when she throws Liu Zikang up to the disgusting substance still on the floor, falling face first there. This causes the ruffian to vomit up rainbows and all of the morning's lunch, something that causes disgust in everyone present. Zio reproaches him for dirtying the boutique again and describes him as an unhygienic person who harms others. She also forbids him to speak to any other woman. As they walk along, she notices that Zio sighs because she remembered a phrase of her grandfather, women cause disasters or problems for men, although she clarifies that only half of what he said is true. Her companion does not understand which part is wrong. He also adds that, if a man wants an attractive woman who causes problems, he should also fix them. What kind of person wouldn't want something like that? All flattering to her. After paying for the expensive garments, they continue their journey back to the Lai mansion when along the way a person crosses the road and the driver abruptly stops abruptly. Zio protects Miss Lai by stopping her from crashing into the seat in front of her. When they ask what is going on, Mr. Bio tells them that someone has gotten in the way. When they get a clear look, they find an unknown person lying on the asphalt. His driver describes him as a lawsuit hunter. Luckily, the vehicle has a camera that recorded everything that happened. In addition, he complains about today's society and the way it wants to make easy money. Zio, like any good doctor and busybody that he is, goes down to inspect the person lying there. He immediately notices that he is suffering from a myocardial infarction and must attend to him immediately. Zio rushes to call an ambulance, but he says it will be too late. He has to go into medical mode to save him. He asks her to get him cold water. While doing so, he takes out his silver needles and applies his apiculture around the infarcted man's chest. With the cold water, she applies her kai and tries to help him. Many people watch what he is doing without quite understanding what he is doing. From the crowd appear two overbearing policemen who question what is going on. Xiao explains the situation, and they don't believe the young man has such abilities. As they get closer, they discover that it is the police chief Gu. They immediately try to send him to the hospital, but Xiao won't let them. He is too serious to survive. If they do, he will die in a minute. He also assaults the policeman by removing his hand from the patient. This is not taken well. The fellow policewoman draws her gun when she notices the aggression. They also warn him that if the man should die because they refuse to transfer him to the hospital, he will be solely responsible. He tries to approach again and Xiao attacks him with one of the silver needles, which causes a cramp in his leg. The problem with Xiao is that he has seen all the seasons of Dr. House and is a Devo. He could solve most of his problems by presenting himself as a specialized doctor, but knew he has to be the tough guy. His partner, seeing this, pulls the gun on him and demands that he tell her what he did to the other officer. As expected, Xiao again steps in for him, blindly believing that everything Xiao does is for the good of others. You just met him yesterday. And of course, before everything took a turn for the worse, the infarcted man wakes up and calms the situation. He immediately recognizes the officer who helps him up and his companion, Xiao Wei. Again, there are a billion Chinese in that country. Why are there 3 with the same name in this story? Does Xiao mean something that I am not unaware of? He receives a brief explanation from the officers about the situation. They mention that the young man stabbed him with numerous needles, then prevented the 2 of them from helping him. He refused to send him to a hospital, and even assaulted Officer Qin Zhu. Xiao comes to his rescue, stressing that he was only trying to help the police chief. Xiao, tired of having to explain himself, takes Miss Lai by the hand and leads her away from the scene. The police chief stops them. Qin Zhu rushes over, but notices that her leg is still numb. Chief Gu catches up with them, describing the cause of what happened. The night before, he slept badly and drank a little of alcohol. This caused him to feel bad from that moment until he suffered the heart attack. He adds that he finds it unbelievable that she cured him with a couple of needles. Xiao replies that she has not cured him. She only cured the symptoms and not the disease. That it is old and complicated. If he really wants to be healthy, he will need treatment. Right now, he doesn't have time to help him. Let's remember that he is the same person who hours before said that his duty was to cure everyone, that he wanted to open a clinic to help. But he doesn't have time now. She reassures him by telling him that at least in several months he will not suffer another heart attack, since with the beekeeping and kai opening, and the alignment of the chakras plus some cold water, she was able to give him a temporary treatment and improving his bloodstreams. Mr. Gu thanks her for what she did for him, something he will never forget, and he can ask her for anything and he will get it for him. He asks for his number, but discovers he doesn't have one. His only way to contact him is to call the Lai mansion. They walk off to the square where they will buy a phone for Xiao, as he doesn't have one. He also doesn't remember that he crippled the policeman Xiao Wang, who, realizing that he is a real doctor, rushes to catch up with them, but his leg won't allow him to do so. As no one else understands what is happening to him, the police chief thinks he is faking it to miss work. Back at the house, they discover that their grandfather has been attending to a mysterious person with a glowing aura around him. This is a grown man who seems to know Xiao well because his grandfather has described him as a miracle doctor. Seeing them enter, he greets Xiao and then the young man. The latter, without further interest, tells him that if his plan is to get treatment from him, he will leave upstairs to go to his room. Grandfather Lai is alarmed to learn that his friend is ill. He replies that these are problems of age, nothing more. As he goes upstairs, he comments again that he will not cure his illness, something that surprises the visitor. He knows that his illness can be cured, but Xiao doesn't want to do it. So she questions him as to why, and in an interesting twist, he reads her aura and replies that he does not cure murderers. The old man is surprised that she knows that about him. Xiao describes that he has a high, flat forehead, eyebrows in the dragon and tiger position, but due to damage to his nose, he has lost longevity. He may not be a villain, but he is not a hero either. The nameless old man is even more surprised that young Xiao has described all that about him, which I really don't see the point of, but for plot purposes, it does. He again presses the question of whether he really doesn't intend to treat him. Xiao answers with a resounding no. It is then that the old man explains that it is true that he has killed people, even some innocent and good people. He has since suffered the torment of atonement for all those years. Xiao compliments that he is still not done paying for what he did. No matter what, it will not cure him. In view of this, he takes his leave, having not found what he was looking for. Xiao asks his grandfather if he knew that story about him, but he denies knowing it. He always thought he was a good person. The scene changes and it is time to go to the invitation that Mo Cheng-fei made earlier. They attend the Red Stars restaurant where Xiao asks him why he didn't wear his new clothes. Xiao replies that she will after taking a shower. She questions again why he will take another one today. And the protagonist continues his explanation saying that he knows he will have problems that night and he doesn't want to ruin them. He'd better wait for his next shower to wear the new clothes. From the penthouse, Cheng notices his arrival and looks at the people accompanying him. A pink-haired man with bad intentions, another blonde-haired man with even more bad intentions, and Xiao's cousin with the worst of intentions. Thus ends the first season of Peerless Youth, which is still being published in China, where the author is probably slow to publish because he is researching interesting names in detail for his manhwa. And we'll see what happens in the next video. Hit the like button and subscribe if you like it, and if you want the next part, write in the comments the word youth. Thanks for watching.